Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So as we are nearing the end of the year, well, it is pretty much the end of the year, I thought I would do a video on my goals for 2022. I love watching videos like this on YouTube, mainly because I'm nosy and I think it's fun to have like aspirations, see other people's aspirations, get inspiration from that, and yeah, I'm just nosy. So I thought I would give my goals and it would be entertaining. So I've kind of split them up into 4 main categories. So we have finance or personal finance, anything to do with that. We have fitness, we have personal, so like just life, and we have business. So those are my 4 categories. So I'll kind of explain my goals for each one in those categories. So I've got my goals on my laptop. I made a really cute little desktop screensaver. So I made like a little thing on Canva, but I can't figure out how to make it my background yet. So that's just there to remind me. Number 1 is finance or personal finance. So I graduated uni last year, so that means that from April onwards I'm going to have to start paying off my student loan, and I am self-employed for anyone that doesn't know, so that's quite a big stress. I've also got some huge things coming up in terms of finance because I'm going to be moving literally to the other side of the world, and I kind of also want to start setting myself up financially. So there's lots going on with that, which is why this is a goal, and I've never had finance goals before, and I've recently got really into personal finance, like to the point where I'm thinking I would actually quite like to make a YouTube channel to share everything that I'm learning. But for now, here are my goals. So goal number 1 is actually to invest. So I've started investing 2 months ago, and I think it's one of those things often people feel like they have to have loads of money to invest or to know everything about investing, and that's actually not true. You need to know enough and you need to research what you're putting your money into, but you actually don't need to have that much money to invest. So what I have started doing, I only have £500 invested, and I know that might sound like a lot to some people, that might sound like nothing to other people, but the idea, at least with the type of investing I'm doing, is that you put away money that you are not going to need within at least the next 10 years or longer. So anything that I need right now I keep, but I set aside £250 per month, and that goes into my investments. So that's basically what I'm doing. So that's finance goal number 1. Finance goal number 2 is to do with my student loan. So I would like to pay off at least £10,000 of my student loan this year. Again, it's quite a big ask, but I really want to start getting it down just because I owe nearly £55,000, which obviously is a lot, and if you move abroad, which obviously I'm going to do, it's a bit more complicated in terms of how you pay it back. So yeah, it's difficult, and obviously the interest rate is quite high on it as well, so I just don't like having this hung over me. I know some people are quite happy with just paying it off every month or every year, and again, because I'm self-employed, I should pay it off yearly, so I haven't paid off anything yet, but I don't like having it hanging over me that I've got this debt that's increasing. So I would like to pay off £10,000 as a really aspirational goal. I've said I'd like to pay off £15,000. So those are my 2 big finance ones. Again, don't want it to be crazy, unrealistic. I want to hit all of my goals. Maybe I'll do a recap at the end of 2022 to see which ones I ticked off, but those are my priorities right now, is to start investing a little bit and also to start paying off my student debt. So the next category I've got, I think I said fitness was next, I'm not sure, that might be wrong. Fitness wise, honestly, my fitness goals aren't really taking up the majority of my goals for 2022, just because I feel like a lot of what I'm doing is habit anyway, and my goals are going to change throughout the year. So like right now I'm doing a cut and I want to get a bit leaner, but then by this time next year I might be deep into a surplus, or I might be doing something completely different and doing CrossFit, like who knows. So I think to have like a yearly goal, for me, it's not going to work. I want to keep making fitness a routine and keep that up whilst I'm traveling, because I think that's quite hard. I just want to keep it up basically, but I do want to get my splits back, because I have been able to do the splits for years and years and years, and even when I couldn't train for a very long time, I could still do my splits. But since I've been training and not really stretching, which I know is really bad, but don't come at me, yeah, I've just basically lost my splits a bit. So I want to get them back, and obviously how I will get them back is by stretching at least maybe kind of 3 times a week, if not more if I can. So those are kind of my fitness goals. Pretty short, but like I said, it's not really my priority because it's something that I want to keep forever. So for me, it's just like part of my life rather than like a new goal to aim for. So the next thing is like personal goals. So I have a few. Number one, big one, is moving to Melbourne. So I'm assuming most people know, but my boyfriend is Australian. He has been living here since May, so quite a long time now ish, and the plan is for us to go back together to go to Melbourne. So that should happen this year for sure. I think we're aiming to go around September ish, could be October, but it depends on things. So within that goal of moving to Melbourne, it's getting my visa, because I'll be getting a partner visa, and then the whole moving process. Obviously that kind of ties into the finance side of things as well. I have to save pretty much all my money is going to go towards this move, because I have to do the visa, the flights, the apartment. Probably we're going to have to give a couple of months rent like up front, because he won't have got a job in Australia yet, and then my income is very unreliable just because of the nature of being self-employed. So there's lots of things you have to save up for with that. And again, under that goal of moving to Melbourne is to rent my first apartment, because I've had uni houses, but I've never had like my own place that I've paid like rent that's not uni. So yeah, that's kind of another big goal, and I think that'll be really exciting. Have a very clear idea of what I want, and where we want to live. We want to live in the city. I want it to be bright and light, and like we both have little specifications that we want. So moving to Melbourne and renting my first apartment is like a big goal, and probably like even more than the financial ones. Like that is like the goal of 2022, but in my head as well, it's like, well, it's going to happen anyway, so it's just about me making it happen. Whereas some of these other goals that I've got in terms of the finance and everything is more like things I'm really gonna have to work to aim towards, whereas moving is just like, well, it's happening anyway, but it's just I've got to make it happen. So that is a big personal one. Another one is travel to 10 different countries. This one again shouldn't really be a goal, because I kind of feel like the goals are things I need to work towards, whereas the traveling is just fun, and I should be doing that anyway. I have most of my trips booked for before we go to Australia, so yeah, as long as COVID doesn't ruin them, then I've already got that. So 10 new countries is another one. And another big one is to increase my social life. So I have lots of friends who are very lovely, but I think because of COVID, because of moving home from uni, where like I said, not many of my friends live close to me, so it's like I would have to travel for at least an hour to see one of them, and then an hour back, so like it's difficult. And then obviously people's different schedules, and then because of Omicron and everything, it's just been difficult. So I haven't made as much effort as I should to see people. I do feel like as well, since the pandemic, I have got a lot more socially anxious, which I took a lot of effort, or put a lot of effort in to get away from that. I feel like it got a lot worse because of being in lockdown, being at home for like 2 years. So I think it is something that needs to change. And it's funny because I do like being sociable when I'm there, but I could easily just not see anyone for a very long time and I'd probably be okay with it. So that's not good. I don't think that that's been good for me mentally. So that's the plan. And again, I think it'll be different because then also when I move to Australia, I'll have to meet new people, and I'll be in a city centre and people will be closer and whatever. But while I'm still here as well, I have some really amazing friends, and I just need to make a bit more of an effort to say yes. So a bit of a weird thing again to have as a goal, but goals are personal, and that's something that I need to put more time into because I don't, which is just the truth. And yeah, my friends are fantastic, so I need to put more effort in. So I think those are all the personal ones, and then my last one is business. So basically I want to keep these realistic. I think a big part of my job does involve social media, so even though I'm not trying to be like a influencer or anything like that, and it's not kind of the numbers that bring me any satisfaction, because also you're so out of control of that, and it depends on so many things. Like for example, one day on Instagram the algorithm literally changed and how things were shown to people literally changed overnight, and it's never been the same since. And there's lots of things like that. So I don't really care about, I'm not really saying, oh, I want this amount of followers or this amount of whatever, because that doesn't really matter. But my business is online. I also like helping people online. I like putting kind of ideas out there and spreading proper information rather than misinformation. So I do want people to see my stuff, and also, you know, people will see my stuff, they know what I'm talking about, and then they'll come to me for personal training. So 2 big things. This year I started my podcast and this YouTube channel, not actually too long ago, it hasn't been going for the whole year, but I started them both relatively recently. So rather than being like, okay, I want X amount of subscribers, I mean, to be fair, I have written like a goal of 5,000 YouTube subscribers, which I think is a pretty like realistic goal by the end of 2022, but I'm not going to cry if it doesn't happen. But what I really want is from myself to post weekly. So I will be doing a podcast weekly, which I've already been doing, but the idea will be that I also can record my podcast so I can post it onto YouTube, and then also just a separate YouTube video every week. So I want to really commit to doing that. So yeah, that's just, I've got to be a bit more on top of it. So rather than the outcome, I'm more focused on the process, which is I need to post weekly on these things and keep that going throughout the year, even when I'm traveling. And the same in terms of, I just need to make a bit more of an effort with TikTok and probably Instagram. But it's hard because then in my head, although they need to be a priority, because again, that's how people find me, I don't like to prioritise them, and I'd much rather prioritise actually my coaching. So it's a tricky one, and that's why again it's on my goals, because I just need to put a bit more time and effort into it. Also just in general, I haven't really put this down, but just kind of continuing to make improvements to train with abs, because I've obviously been doing that. And there are other things as well that I want to look into, but I think I probably will talk about them in future if I do, and it's things that I probably will have to save up quite a lot for before I'm able to do it. So that's kind of, I'm talking a couple of years in the future. So those are kind of my main goals. I've got my finance ones, I've got my fitness ones-ish, I've got my personal ones, which largely revolve around travel and moving, and I've got my business ones. So when you're writing your goals for 2022, which I would advise you to do, I think it's nice, it's not necessarily having to be like a New Year's resolution, but again, the reason a lot of those fail is just because they're either unrealistic or there's no clear process to get there. Whereas if you make realistic goals, you know how you're going to make them happen, there's no reason for you to not do so. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I love watching them, I think it's really interesting. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.